There it goes. Now we're on the air. Our conversation with Barbara Parkins brought to you by Marcus & Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on the air with us here this morning. We have talked with superintendents and principals and others from all around Indiana County, and we finally get a chance to get you on the air with us. COVID-19 is something, that's a phrase we hadn't heard until probably about January, and boy, have we heard it a lot since then, and United School District, like everybody else, has had to respond to the COVID-19 crisis. How has it gone for your school district?
Well, it's going pretty smoothly. You're right, we haven't heard COVID-19 until early this year, and I can tell you I have many files in many places on my computer to store things now because we just hit the ground running. It's something, I've been in education for 40 years now, and it's something that I never thought I would see, never even imagined it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the interesting things about it. School districts, you always are meeting and having contingency plans for this or that eventuality, and they are eventualities. Eventually, something happens that causes you to use or to modify a plan. Was there any sort of planning ahead of time for United in this respect?
Well, we did have a pandemic plan, but mostly to be a point of distribution in case we needed to set up our gymnasium for use with the Red Cross or the Department of Health, but never thinking that we would have to implement some type of virtual education.
Yeah, and so all of a sudden you had to do that. So let's talk a little bit about the planning process. What went into it? How did you come up with the final decision on how you wanted to proceed?
Well, early in March we started to get an indication that there may be a possibility that schools would close. So we started working at the beginning of March, and pretty intensely working at the beginning of March. And we had been hearing about the other countries that were affected, and we knew eventually the United States would be, hoping that, that it would only be maybe the port cities, but it has spread across the country. And anticipating that, we worked very diligently and trying to provide a continuity of education plan, which it's called by the Department of Education, for all of our students. Now, some of our students do not have computers or devices that they can use at home, nor do some of them even have internet access because we are rural here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody is. and so you have to develop ways to reach those students as well as the ones who are, frankly, easier to get because they do have broadband.
That's right.
Yeah. So what we had prepared were some assignments that students could do either by way of using a device or developing paper packets and mailing those out. So my principals have been in and some of their secretaries have been in, and they've been working diligently to get those out. So your plan actually was activated on what day? Probably a week or so ago?
On March 25th and 26th, we held teacher in-service days for the preparation of those first packets to go out, with school actually resuming on Monday, March the 30th. Okay. So students have been working since March 30th, and we anticipate that their last day is June 4th, and the teacher's last day is June 5th. We're going to be holding virtual graduation for kindergarten and for our high school seniors on June 4th.
Okay, all right. In terms of grading and participation, whether it's mandatory or voluntary, that some school districts are handling it differently than others. How's United doing it?
Well, United's plan is called enrichment and review, and because it's enrichment and review and not planned instruction, those are the two options. So we're enrichment and review, and because of that, there are no grades associated with the assignments. However, we expect that the assignments are to be completed. And teachers check in with the students at least once a week, if not more often. Students are able to contact their teachers for assistance on the assignments, either by way of phone or by Google Classroom.
Probably for a good year or two after this, folks are going to be checking in on how the plan actually worked within their school district in hopes that should something like this occur again, that they would be more prepared than they were this time. So
I'm sure you'll be looking at participation numbers. Do you have any preliminary idea of just what, by percentage, how many students are participating and how many have yet to really fully log on?
Yeah, we've actually been gathering that information. They started this week gathering some of that information. We don't have a total, so I can't give you a percent, so we didn't collect the total yet.
Yeah.
So, I don't have that information.
But you have a general sense that kids are into it? They're getting the idea?
Oh, yeah. I think just because their teachers are really, truly committed and dedicated to the United School District and the education of the students here.
That's one of the things I've noticed with other school districts as well. The teachers have really stepped up, haven't they?
They have. The first week was just truly exhausting for all of us. Yeah. The administrators had been working on it prior to the teachers working on it. So by the time the teachers jumped in for the in-service day, we were into it there about a week and a half. So we were a little more comfortable with being stressed. And so I can say that, we're all truly working harder than we ever have. So, and I'm sure that parents can probably say the same thing.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. One of the things I noticed about on your website the other day, I was looking at it, there's a place, and maybe it's your social media, maybe it's Facebook, where kids can actually take virtual field trips. That's really neat.
We tried to keep them involved because May is typically, the late April and May is typically when some of our students get the opportunity to go visit locations. And obviously this year I don't think, it's this personal opinion, I don't think we're going to be open after April 30th. I saw an article in a national magazine today that says there's possible closure until next school year. Mm-hmm. So I hope it doesn't last that long. In fact, I would be more than thrilled to be reopened because I truly miss the kids. My office is in the high school, and I get to see kids every day, and now I don't. Yeah. So, I've been at this for a long time. I like school. Yeah. I like learning. This has surely been a learning experience, but I do miss the students.
We're talking with Barbara Parkins, Superintendent of the United School District, about that district's response to the COVID-19 crisis. And I'm sure that since the school has been not in session for quite some time now, that you have real strict procedures in place as to who gets into those buildings, and how you get them cleaned up afterwards. You can't take any chances, can you?
That's right. We have essential personnel that are reporting. The teachers did have an opportunity to come and pick up materials and their computers to work from home, and that was a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But right now, it's very limited personnel.
Yeah. How's the feeding program working?
Oh, the feeding program, they're serving about 200 kids a day. We just put a plug in here. Come visit us. We are serving breakfast and lunch every day from 11 to 12:30.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, that's at the high school event entrance where you go in for the basketball games. Mm-hmm. And it's a drive-up system where you simply drive up and the cafeteria folks come out with your meals.
Wow. So parents just need to call up, drive up and say, I need 4 or I need 2 or whatever it happens to be.
That's right.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It's good to hear that it's working out at United. I know it's not the best of situations. You did mention the graduation ceremonies and how that will still go on. What'd you say, June 4th?
June 4th for kindergarten and for our high school seniors.
Yeah. And
we have a broadcasting system that goes out. We broadcast our basketball games. We tried it out this year, about the middle of the season, mm-hmm. and it seemed to work. So that's what the system that we're going to use, knowing that some people don't have computers so that they can tune in somehow. I'm not exactly sure how it works or where it goes, but that's how we're going to be doing that.
Yeah, unfortunately, there won't be a prom this year at United. And one of the school districts I talked to, I think it was Homer Center, said later in the summer they're going to maybe, if things ever get back to normal, try to have some sort of a prom-style event. That would be nice.
Yes, we're still planning not only the virtual graduation, like you mentioned, but we're actually planning to do a real graduation at some point in time for those seniors, and as well as a prom.
Yeah, well, it's an unprecedented time, and everybody's doing their best. It sounds like United is really working hard, too, on behalf of their students and their citizens. Barbara Parkins, thanks so much for spending some time with us today.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
All right, bye now.
Bye-bye.